Today you are going to learn about two of the oldest centuries of learning in the world, Takshila and Nalanda. Listen carefully, these are facts, not stories. By the end of this video, you will understand how people studied thousands of years ago. Let's begin with Takshila. You may also heard it called Takshashila. It was established around the year 1000 BC. That is more than 3000 years ago. Takshila was located in the Gandhara region, today that is in Pakistan near the city of Islamabad. Listen to this carefully. Takshila was not a single building or a campus. It was an entire city where teachers lived and taught. Each teacher had their own small school. Some taught under a tree, others taught in a simple room. Students could choose which teachers to follow. There was no fixed syllabus for everyone. What did students learn at Takshila? Here the main subjects: medicine and surgery, mathematics and astronomy, military science and archery, law and administration, Sanskrit, grammar and trade and commerce. You see, Takshila prepared students for many different careers. Some famous people studied or taught at Takshila. One of them is Chanakya, also called Kautilya. He wrote a famous book on politics called Arthashastra. He later helped Chandragupta Maurya become a great king. Another famous student was Jivaka, a doctor who treated kings and monks. Students came from far away, from Greece, China, Persia and Central Asia. They travelled for a month. There were no exam for admission. A teacher could simply talk to the student and decide if they could join. Takshila did not last forever. Around 500 CE, invasions by Hun and other groups destroyed the city. The teachers left, the student went home. But idea of learning center did not die. It moved east, and that is where Nalanda was born. Now we come to Nalanda. Listen everyone, Nalanda was different from Takshila. It was a planned residential university. Think of it as an ancient version of a modern campus. Nalanda was established in 5th century CE during the Gupta Empire. Many kings supported it, especially Emperor Harsha in the 7th century. Let me give you the numbers. According to a Chinese pilgrim named Huingsang, who visited in 633 CE, Nalanda had 8 separate compounds, 10,000 students, 2000 teachers, 3 large libraries. The libraries were called Ratnasagara, Ratnodadi and Ratnaranjaka. This name means Sea of Gems, Ocean of Gems and Jewel Adored. What did students study at Nalanda? Here is the list: Buddhist philosophy, both Hinayana and Mahayana, logic which they call Pramana, Samskrita, grammar and literature, medicine, mathematics and astronomy, and fine arts including painting. Even non-Buddhist subjects like Vedas and yogas were allowed. Listen to this. Admission to Nalanda was not easy. Every student had to pass a difficult interview at the main gate. A panel of teachers asked questions. If you failed, you have to leave immediately. Historian says only about 20 out of 100 applications were accepted. Another Chinese pilgrim, I Ching, came in the late 7th century. He wrote that Nalanda had a strict daily schedule. Lecture in the morning, debates in the afternoon, private study at night. There were 100 lectures every day. You can imagine how busy the teachers were. Let me explain how a normal day looked at Nalanda. Students wake up before sunrise. They meditate first. Because Nalanda was a Buddhist university, then they had breakfast provided by the university kitchen. The kitchen fed hundreds of students every day. Food came from donation by kings and local villages. Nalanda had a clear chain of command. A head of the university was called Mahaviharacharya. He was chosen by the king. Below him were senior teachers, the Staviras. Then junior teachers, the Upadhyayas, then the students. Rules were strict. If you fought or stole, you were expelled. Debate was a very important activity. Every afternoon, students and teachers debate philosophical topics in special hall. Winning a debate increased your reputation. Losing was fine. You learned from it. Debate was not a fight. It was a method of learning. Now the libraries. According to records, Nalanda libraries held in 9 million books. Of course, books were not paper then. They were palm leaves and birch bark. Each book was stored in a metal box. The library had multiple floors. Fire was a constant danger, so guards were posted. Nalanda survived for nearly 800 years, from the 5th to 12th century, but nothing lasted forever. After the Pala dynasty lost power, Nalanda lost its royal support. Then in 1133 CE, a Turkish military commander named Bakhtiar Khilji attacked the region. Khilji captured a nearby Buddhist monasteries. Historical records, including writings of Persian historian Minhaj-e-Siraj, confirmed that Nalanda was also attacked. The army set to the fire libraries because the libraries had so many palm leaves books. The fire lasted for days, some Tibetan sources months. Most of the books were destroyed. The surviving monks and teachers fled. They went to the Nepal, Tibet and other part of India. By 1200 CE, Nalanda was empty, the building slowly turning into ruins. Today you can visit both places. Takshila is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Pakistan. Nalanda is also a UNESCO site in India. and in 2010 a new Nalanda University was built near the old ruins. It offers masters and PhD programs. Students from more than 40 countries study there now. So everyone, here is the main point. Takshila and Nalanda show us that organized higher education existed in South Asia thousands of years ago. They were not the only ones. Other universities like Vikramashila and Vadantapuri also existed, but Takshila and Nalanda are the best known. They came before the universities of Bologna and Oxford. If you like this video, please share, like and subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching.